Welcome, dear students. Today we'll read the short story, The Rules of the Game by Amy Tan. Amy Tan is a Chinese American writer, and in this particular short story, The Rules of the Game, she talks about the immigrant life in the US. I want all of you to take your textbook and turn to this short story, The Rules of the Game. This is actually a brief video summary of this short story. This story centers around this young girl who is called Waverly John. Other characters that we find in the short story are her mother and her brothers Vincent and Winston. The story is about her journey of becoming a chess champion. Vincent got the chess set, which would have been a very decent present to get at a church Christmas party, except it was obviously used, and as we discovered later, it was missing a black pawn and a white knight. My mother graciously thanked the unknown benefactor, saying, "Too good, cost too much." This is Waverly's mother. At which point, an old lady with fine white wispy hair nodded toward our family and said with a whistling whisper, "Merry, Merry Christmas." When we got home, my mother told Vincent to throw the chess set away. She not want it, we not want it, she said, tossing her head stiffly to the side with a tight, proud smile. Throughout we find her mother using broken English, but with determination. My brothers had deaf ears. They were already lining up the chess pieces and reading from the dog-eared instruction book. They were excited about the gift and started playing chess. I watched Vincent and Winston play during Christmas week. The chessboard seemed to hold elaborate secrets waiting to be untangled. Waverly was intrigued with the game and at the same time excited. Let me, I begged between games. When one brother or the other would sit back with deep sigh of relief and victory, the other annoyed, unable to let go of the outcome. Vincent at first refused to let me play, but when I offered my lifesavers as replacements for the buttons that filled in for the missing pieces, he relented. Waverly got these lifesavers during the Christmas party. He could choose the flavors, and the winner could eat both. This was the deal. As our mother sprinkled flour and rolled out small doughy circles for the steamed dumplings that would be for our dinner that night, Vincent explained the rules, pointing to each piece. "You have 16 pieces, and so do I. One king and queen, two bishops, two knights, two castles, and 8 pawns. The pawns can only move forward one step, except on the first move." Vincent now talks about these rules, and she is very much excited about this, but she asks many questions, and Vincent gets annoyed. "Why can't they move more steps?" asked Waverly. "Because they are pawns," he replied. "But why do they grow crossways to take other men? Why aren't there any women and children?" She is very curious, excited, and doesn't understand these rules, which seems very weird to her. Why is the sky blue? Why must you always ask stupid questions? Vincent got annoyed. These are rules of this game. I didn't make them up. Look at this manual. It's there. It's written in the book. Read it yourself. He gets annoyed, and her mother, hearing this, comes to them and took the book. Let me see the book, she said quietly. She scanned the pages quickly, not reading the foreign English symbols, seeming to search deliberately for nothing in particular. This American rules, she concluded at last. Every time people come out from foreign country must know rules. You are not no judge say too bad go back. They are not telling you why, so you can use their way go forward. They say don't know why, you find out yourself. But they know it all the time. By portraying the mother's reaction, the writer is trying to throw light on how difficult life would have been for immigrants in a new country, trying to understand completely unknown rules and culture in those early days. Better you take it, find out why yourself. She tossed her head back with a proud, satisfied smile. I found out about all these whys later. She went to the library nearby, borrowed books, and read very keenly and found out all the rules of the game. I studied each piece, trying to absorb the power each contained. I learned about opening moves and why it's important to control the center early on. The shortest distance between 2 points is straight down the middle. She learned all the rules of the chess and tried to play in her mind. She went home and drew a picture of the chessboard and tried to learn it. And later on, her brothers were lost interest because she became a better player and she understood the invisible strength that a player should possess. And there are something that should not be revealed. A little knowledge withheld is a great advantage. One should store for future use. That is the power of chess. It's a game of secrets in which one must show and never tell. And she loved those secrets. I carefully drew a handmade chessboard and pinned it to the wall next to my bed, where I would stare for hours at imaginary battles. Soon I no longer lost any games or lifesavers, but I lost my adversaries. Vincent and Winston lost interest in chess. They wanted to roam in the streets after school with their cowboy hats. On a cold spring afternoon, while walking home from school, I detoured through the playground at the end of our alley. I saw a group of old men, two seated across a folding table, playing a game of chess. Others smoking pipes, eating peanuts, and watching. I ran home and grabbed Vincent's chess set, which was bound in a cardboard box with rubber bands. I also carefully selected two prized rolls of lifesavers. I came back to the park and approached a man who was observing the game. Want to play? I asked him. His face widened with surprise and he grinned as he looked at the box under my arm. Little sister, been a long time since I played with dolls, he said, smiling benevolently. She got annoyed, but she quickly put the box down next to him on the bench and displayed what she had. Lopo was excited and interested and curious. He turned out to be a much better player than my brothers. I lost many games and many lifesavers, but over the weeks, with each diminishing roll of candies, I added new secrets. She learned new tricks, the double attack, throwing stones on the drowning man, the sudden meeting of a clan, the surprise from the sleeping god, the humble servant who kills the king, sand in the eyes of advancing forces, a double killing without blood. There were also the fine points of chess etiquette. Keep captured men and neat rows as well tendered prisoners. Never renounce check with vanity, lest someone with an unseen sword slit your throat. Never hurl pieces into the sandbox after you have lost a game, because then you must find them again by yourself after apologizing to all around you. By the end of the summer, Lopo had taught me all he knew, and I had become a better chess player. A small weekend crowd of Chinese people and tourists would gather as I played and defeated my opponents one by one. And my mother would join the crowds during these outdoor exhibition games. She sat proudly on the bench, telling my admirers with proper Chinese humility is luck. But she was very proud of her daughter and liked to show off her daughter to others, and which is a start of a conflict between the mother and the daughter. Once a man watched me play in the park and suggested that I should play in local tournaments. My mother smiled graciously, an answer that meant nothing. I desperately wanted to go, but I bit back my tongue. That was one of the advices that her mother used to give her. I knew she would not let me play among strangers, so we walked home. I said in a small voice that I didn't want to play in the local tournament. They would have American rules. If I lost, I would bring shame on my family. It's shame you fall down, nobody push you, said my mother. And she was very happy that her mother is okay with her playing in local tournaments, because with these proverbs and wise sayings, her mother gives certain advices and insights to her daughter. And thus Waverley got to participate in the local tournaments. During my first tournament, my mother sat with me in the front row as I waited for my turn. She was very excited and curious at the same time. And when her name was called out, she leapt up, but all of a sudden her mother gave something, a small tablet of red jade which held the sun's fire, and she said it would bring success, it would bring good luck, and tucked it into my dress pocket. I turned to my opponent, a 15-year-old boy from Auckland. He looked at me, wrinkling his nose. Apparently, he was not happy with Waverly. As I began to play, the boy disappeared, the color ran out of the room, and all that I saw was my white pieces and his black ones waiting on the other side. A wind began blowing past my ears. It whispered secrets only I could hear. Blow from the south, it murmured. The wind leaves no trail. I saw a clear path, the traps to avoid. The crowd rustled, said the corners of the room. The wind blew stronger. Throw sand from the east to distract him. The knight came forward, ready for the sacrifice. Blow, blow, blow. He cannot see, he's blind now. Make him lean away from the wind, so he is easier to knock down. Check, I said, as the wind roared with laughter. The wind died down to little puffs, my own breath. So the wind symbolizes her own mind talking to her, giving her advice on how to play the chess, how to move forward, the moves that she's supposed to take. And finally, she won this match. The wind in these lines actually refers to her own mind guiding her along the game, telling her what her opponent might do and the strategies that she should use. My mother placed my first trophy next to a new plastic set of chess set that the neighborhood tower society had given to me. As she wiped each piece with soft cloth, she said, "Next time, win more, lose less." She was annoyed with this advice. "Ma, it's not how many pieces you lose," I said. "Sometimes you need to lose pieces to get ahead. Better to lose less. See if you really need." At the next tournament, I won again, but it was my mother who wore the triumphant grin because she lost less. Lost 8 pieces this time, last time was 11. What I tell you, better off lose less. I was annoyed, but I couldn't say anything. There was this conflict and some silence between the mother and the daughter. And she attended more tournaments and won many trophies, and the Chinese bakery downstairs displayed this growing collection of trophies in its windows amidst the cakes that we never picked up. The day after I won an important regional tournament, the window encased a fresh sheet cake with whipped cream, frosting, and red script saying, "Congratulations, Waverly John, Chinatown chess champion." Soon after that, a flower shop, headstone engraver, and funeral parlor offered to sponsor me in national tournaments. And thus, this young Chinese girl from this small town got to play in national tournaments. That's when my mother decided I no longer had to do the dishes. Winston and Vincent had to do her chores. "Why does she get to play and we do all the work?" complained her brothers. "Is new American rule," said my mother. "Mamie play." Mamie is the name. Waverly is called by Mamie lovingly. She skews her brains out and you do nothing. By my 9th birthday, I was a national chess champion. I was still some 429 points away from grandmaster status, but I was touted as a great American whoop, a child prodigy, and a girl to boot. Though she was from this Chinese community, she was regarded as the great American hope. At the young age of 9, Waverly Young became a national chess champion. But this is how she learned to play chess and became a chess champion. But there was something else also this story tells us, that is about this conflict between the mother and the daughter. The mother was very proud of her daughter and used to show off her daughter to others, and which made her angry, sad, and irritated. And one fine day, she just ran away from her mother from when they were in the market. And finally, she was forced to come back to her house. But with determination, she tries to pull away from this emotional clutches of her mother. And when we make an analysis of the short story, we would deal with this theme in detail, how this mother daughter conflict is represented in the short story. And this is just a brief summary. And after watching this, I want all of you to read the entire short story before we do the analysis. Thank you.